Using ENM or opening up your relationship as a way to save a relationship is probably when you shouldn't try ENM.
You can still cheat in ENM relationships if you're not being honest with your partner about who you're seeing, or if you're falling outside of your boundaries and you're not telling them about it.
Majority of people we spoke to said it just took their relationship to another level.
I like to ask for some kind of verification from their partner that yes, it's okay that they're seeing other people.
Hi, I'm Dee Selman. Gemini loves cats. I say the same thing every time. And I cried at a AI TikTok the other day.
Hi, I'm Pip Rasmussen. Aquarius loves dogs. And my heating is currently broken in my house during Melbourne winter.
What do you reckon your temperature was yesterday when you were on the meeting?
I think it was probably about 12 degrees inside.
Yeah, it was full snow girl.
Yeah. It was Aspen.
Yeah.
It was giving.
The fur.
Not in a fashion way.
Fur everywhere.
Just a really bad, 4 layers and an electric blanket. Anyway, let's not focus on that.
I'm like, as much as I wish we were a fashion podcast, we are not. We are not. We try. We talk about love, sex, dating, and relationships if you are new, and we have to unpack ethical non-monogamy.
Yeah, it's something that I feel like we've been seeing on dating apps, and people are definitely becoming more open in their relationships and talking about it. So we wanted to explore it with you. So that's what this episode is all about. By the way, if you don't realize, we are on YouTube as a vodcast, and we are now also on Spotify.
I was going to say, we hit the headline.
Yes, we buried the lead.
Really, really huge news for us because we've, been wanting this to happen for a long time. So you, when you are listening on Spotify, can now watch us and see us, and it'll just feel even more like we're all hanging out. So
yeah, get into our little ABC Jen and closet with us. It's very fun. Let's get into it.
So, like Pip said, we have noticed a lot of people DMing us about ENM. You've noticed it heaps on dating apps, like people are adding it to their bio. We've had friends that are opening up their relationships. So I feel like there's definitely more of a movement towards people exploring open relationships now.
100%. It's definitely in the zeitgeist. People are trying out the waters, but maybe you've clicked onto this and you have no idea what the acronym ENM stands for.
Oh yeah, sorry, we haven't even said.
So ENM is ethical non-monogamy in dating. It means basically having romantic and sexual relationships with multiple partners at the same time, but everyone involved knows what's going on. Everyone's consenting.
Yep.
In the best case scenario.
That's the ethical part, right?
Yes.
And I think people get confused because they hear, well, what's the difference between ENM, open, threesomes, poly?
Yeah, we had heaps of people DM us that.
Yeah. ENM is basically the umbrella term for all of those things, like they come underneath it. So we won't get into the different types, because there's so many. There's polycules, there's the hierarchical poly, there's kitchen table polyamory.
What is it? Relationship anarchy.
Relationship anarchists. There's, so there's a lot of different dynamics and there's a lot of different rules, and that a lot of that will come down to just the people involved and what they've decided is the rules for their E&M relationship. But what we really do want to unpack is why are people becoming more interested or trying open relationships?
Yeah, and your experiences of it, whether it's good, bad, and how you're going with it. Speaking of how you're going with it, we asked you on our Instagram @JJ the hookup, how many of you are actually in an ENM or ethical non-monogamous relationship?
Or have you had one?
Or have you had one? Yes. Are you currently in one, or have you had one in the past? 21% of you said yes, 79% of you said no.
I mean, it would be interesting because I feel like people might not identify with ENM, but maybe they've had a threesome.
That's true.
Or maybe they have threesomes.
I mean, a lot of people don't even know the term ENM, so maybe they didn't even have the tools or the language to know that's what it was. I really like this poll one that we did as well. We asked, have you ever dated someone in an ENM setup, even if you weren't in one? So you were the third or the non-primary partner, as people say, primary or nesting partner. They're usually the couple that started the whole thing.
Who are opening their relationship up. Well, this is not what I expected. I expected more for some reason. But 27% of you said yes, you have dated someone in an ethical non-monogamous relationship. I don't know why, but same with you. I thought it would be higher because I feel like it's easy. It might be a little bit easier to like come in and out of someone else's relationship rather than like open up your own, you know?
Yeah. And I know we're not talking about threesomes, but we did do an episode on that not too long ago. And yeah, there were so many people who were talking about like hooking up with a couple. So I do agree with you. I kind of thought that would be higher. But anyway, that's our own research. But of course, we did research outside of our Instagram to find out what's going on with ENM because we had been reading that a lot more young people are actually getting into it. So it turns out more people are engaging and exploring in it. There was a YouGov 2020 US-based survey that found 43% of millennials said that their ideal relationship is non-monogamous to some degree.
Yes. And a few other studies back that saying younger generations were more accepting and open to experimenting with ENM than older generations. And one study in particular found that there was an increasing interest and openness, particularly among LGBTQI plus communities and those with higher education.
Interesting.
Which I found, I'm like, so
banging with bachelor degrees,
opening
it up.
Well, I guess a lot of like higher education requires critical thinking, and if you're critically thinking, you might be questioning, which is what we'll get into in this episode, why we've all just decided to be monogamous in the first place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. And I want to go back and say quickly the LGBTQ plus, that stat does actually make a lot of sense. And as you'll hear in this episode, if you're somebody who is bi and wanting to explore a little bit, like ENM could be for you potentially. But yeah, I think in general as well, people are being way more open and visible with their open relationships as well. Like, I mean, like even like anecdotally with us, like we have friends and like I said, I've been seeing people on apps being like, hey, I have a primary who I'm happy with, but I'm like keen to talk and meet new people. And I think in the zeitgeist, it's just much more open now.
Yeah. And if you're in dating apps, like a lot of the main ones like Hinge, Tinder, Grindr, they will have options for you to decide what kind of relationship you're looking for or what relationship you're already in, right? So when you are on these apps, which most people are, you know, it kind of like takes away the stigma and taboo if you have the option to pick ethical non-monogamous or you have the option to pick open or poly or whatever it is. And then I guess like more visibility when you're swiping and seeing that people have picked that and being curious about that. So I think it has become less taboo and all the visibility has taken away a bit of that stigma.
Yes. So we asked you on our Instagram at Triple J The Hookup. Again, if you're not following us, what are you doing? You can literally be a part of this episode because we asked for your voice memos. What?
I just snorted. I was like, what are you fucking doing?
What are you fucking doing?
What are you doing?
Pause this right now.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, when you're in video mode on Spotify, if you swipe up on your phone and exit out of the app, as in like you minimize it, the video stays there.
Oh, it'll stay.
So you can watch us and then you can go follow us.
At the same time. Oh, God, yeah. And DM us. Obviously.
Yes. Anyway, so we asked you why you wanted to open up your relationship, if this is something that you are interested in and have tried ENM. We got a DM from Ella saying, I was feeling limited by monogamy. I had crushes on other people and I just knew monogamy wasn't working for me. Now I'm in an open relationship and I'm happier than ever.
Love that for you, Ella.
Yeah. We got this really great voice memo from Jamal. I'm obsessed. You have to hear this.
Oh, what a pleasant surprise. I love the show and I love your vibes.
I had to include that. Normally we would just cut that out.
Jamal, I need him in the studio ASAP. I need you to be the third host.
No, literally. We're opening up our relationship. You're coming in here
No,
now.
we are.
No, literally.
Jamal, obsessed with you.
Like, that is just one of my favorite things I've ever heard.
It's just so nice when we get a voice memo from you and you can just like feel your whole personality through the voice memo. Like it's just really nice. It's like you feel like a friend.
It is really lovely. It
Thank you,
really
Jamal.
made our day. So thank you, Jamal. Anyway, this is what Jamal said because he basically had a partner who wanted more sex and that's why they opened up.
My then partner had a much higher sex drive than I did. And I brought forth the idea of ethical non-monogamy. It was about finding a person that we both vibe with, that he had good sexual chemistry with. He loved the romantic side between me and him, but also, like I said, high sex drive.
There you go. So a lot of people did resonate with that as well.
Yeah, and we got a lot of DMs from you if you were in an ENM relationship where the opening of that relationship came from wanting to explore your sexuality. And so we got this voice memo from Tim.
Ultimately, it's just what it works for me, and it works for every relationship I've had since. And the current one that I'm in, we're both bisexual. It allows us the freedom and the openness to explore that, as well as together with other couples. There is just so much trust between us. It strengthens our bond. We go to swingers clubs together, and we never feel closer when we are coming home from those events and share how excited that made us and how much we love each other and trust each other.
Can I just say, like, the coming home from the swingers club in the ride share, like, that would be just the funnest thing ever, to be like, you'll never believe who I saw, or like, this happened.
It's the best debrief that you can have.
It's literally the best debrief, and you can have it with friends, but having it with a partner and sharing that experience does sound really, really fun.
Well, everyone that we spoke to, I mean, we're going to get into this, and there were people who had, you know, some challenges and reasons why it didn't work, but majority of people we spoke to who are in ENM relationships were saying that, like, kind of what Tim said, it just took their relationship to another level. Like, it fully deepened their connection, which I'm like, okay, love that for you. And this was something that Ben sent us a voice memo about.
So my ex and I, after several years of monogamy, opened up into a polyamorous dynamic, and it really deepened our connection. It took all the shallow bullshit that sits on top of a relationship and threw that away because there was no room for it anymore. We were able to have needs that we couldn't necessarily meet for each other, have them met by other people, which was really, really good and exciting. And then I feel like a lot of long-term monogamous couples can relate to how sort of things can become a bit stale. You can tend to put in a little less effort with each other after a long time. And so then all of a sudden, if you're seeing other people and going on dates and stuff, you realise, why aren't I putting this much effort into like this relationship? So it really increased the amount of effort we put into each other, which was really beautiful.
So many people were loving it, and so had such good things to say about ENM and opening up their relationship. But at the same time, like, obviously we did have people who had challenges and who were like, yeah, this was fun, but this was like a little bit tough. We had this one from Amber talking about some of the challenges for her.
For me, the biggest challenges are that it's still not really socially acceptable. So there's lots of judgment. I have been told that they're not real relationships, and people can be really judgy. Secondly, I do get jealous. I am quite a jealous person generally, not just in romantic relationships. And I think it comes down to two components. One is around how do I feel valued, and the second is that fear of missing out of what if my partner's doing something with one of their partners that I wanted to do. And I think the third thing is just time. Everybody's busy. You know, we all have jobs, we have families, we have friends, we have other partners, we have other things we want to do in life. So it's how do you fit all of that in?
That's so real. It's like definitely something that, like, I struggle with even in my relationship, just finding the time because we're both so busy.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you add more people into the mix and you can imagine, like, but like everyone's been saying, it just takes that really, really good communication, right? Like being able to, like, I think people think the stereotype is that people in ethical non-monogamy or open or poly relationships don't get jealous. But that was a big thing that we heard from you. Like, that is so normal. Like, you do get jealous. You just talk about it in a way that maybe monogamous couples don't get to that level of being able to, like, unpack why this is bringing up so many different things and reflecting internally about, like, why.
But, like, it's really refreshing to hear Amber and a lot of your DMs talk about that and be like, no, we deal with this.
Yeah.
And it's almost like Amber being like, I am a jealous person outside of the relationship and in normal life, and yet I'm doing open and it's like working for me. Is kind of like, damn, if you were ever thinking like I could never do that, like maybe you could. I don't know.
It's like just a lot of feelings that you get, right? Like, you just have to watch them and be curious about them. It doesn't mean that it's like a negative thing.
100.
But yeah, we did, what was interesting, we did get a few messages from people who said that, like, in their hetero relationship, that when they opened up, it was like kind of like unbalanced with who they were able to hook up with. So Dan said, so far we find it hard for me as a guy to get dates as opposed to my female partner, and it's causing a bit of tension in our relationship.
Yeah, this is something that a lot of you replied to this when we reposted on our Instagram. You were like, oh my God, yes, this is me, this is my couple. And we got this voice memo from Nicole talking about her experience.
So during my open relationship, we found that it was really easy for me as a woman to find matches who were willing to meet up and were just down to fuck, whereas my partner at the time would really struggle to even get matches on the apps. Like I would have hundreds of them in a matter of days, whereas he would only get one or two. And it was quite common that the women that were swiping were looking for more of a relationship with him, where they wanted to be treated like his girlfriend before they would sleep with him, which became quite difficult. And I also just want to add, where I said that I was getting like hundreds of people swiping, whereas he would only get one or two, it did become quite difficult. Like for me, I had to filter through a lot of really icky, disgusting comments and a lot of assumptions over the fact that I was just looking for somebody to have a sexual relationship with. But yeah, it was just really interesting to see how different it was based on our genders.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a classic thing where guys are like, yeah, babe, let's open it up. Like, I'm going to score, but then they never do. And it was interesting to hear Nicole talk about like having to work through all those gross messages. That's something you totally might not even consider.
Well, the thing is like sometimes these gendered stereotypes exist and you kind of want to be like, no, like, you know, maybe we're just giving them too much like airtime and maybe we're just like, you know, leaning into the stereotype so much. But it's like when you hear experiences like Nicole's, it's like you're doing it to yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Hard to argue with the facts when someone's got like, hundreds of gross people. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, guys just want sex. Well, then like maybe, anyway.
And I think like on paper, this sounds really good, but like what they were saying, like both Dan and Nicole, it's almost like the people that you'd be able to open up the relationship to and with, that would be so narrowed down because you're literally spending so much admin trying to work through all these people and find somebody who can do it ethically with you at the same time.
100%.
So yeah, maybe, on
and depending
paper,
on what your rules are, right? Like, I don't know their dynamic, but maybe it's like they only are allowed to sleep with people that they will never see again.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's going to be hard to find. Definitely people will be into that for sure. Like the unicorns that want to do threesomes and whatever, but like it's going to be hard to find people who might be okay with that dynamic. It's like they might want to build a relationship.
So that's probably a good point for us to move on to talking about when ethical non-monogamy is not ethical and things get a little bit murky and people lie and people do some pretty dog shit when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, like maybe you will use the label ENM, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are actually acting ethically. So we're going to go through some of the voice memos we got from you with some examples. And one of an example is from Andy, who spoke about when ENM was kind of being used as a bit of a Band-Aid to try and fix the relationship.
Yeah, I had high hopes for exploring that with my now ex-wife. You know, I had sort of sensed that things weren't going all that well with our relationship, and sort of suggested opening things up if she was, you know, consensual to it. You know, it's something I thought she might enjoy and that I might enjoy, just to explore different parts of our sexuality and things like that. She flat out sort of denied any interest in that from the get-go. Unfortunately, a couple of months after that, I found out that she had made a guy that she was seeing behind my back believe that we were, in fact, in an ENM situation, which was really disappointing because I had such high hopes for exploring that with her openly and honestly, and it was just really disappointing.
There's a fair bit we could unpack from this. Firstly, the unethical thing, as he said at the end, talking about the ex-partner using ENM to lie to somebody to then hook up with someone, but that was actually cheating. So that's straight up like unethical ways to do it. But also what Andy was describing was what you were saying, putting a Band-Aid on it and using ENM or opening up your relationship as a way to save a relationship is probably when you shouldn't try ENM. Like maybe talk first, do some therapy, work on it. But it was actually quite interesting to see how many people sent DMs who were sort of like talking about being in that situation where it was like, oh, they're about to break up with me or things aren't going well. Let's open it up.
Totally. A lot of you DM'd us and said that you had been given an ultimatum in your relationship and it was either like, we're going to do this, or it means that the relationship is over. And this was something that Nina sent us a voice memo about.
So basically they said that we either break up or we stay together and they are allowed to sleep with other people. And I had just moved to a new city with them, had a rental, had a pet, and I basically just didn't want to go through a breakup at the time. And so I thought, well, I'll try and make it work. That was a big breaking point in the relationship because I'm very strongly monogamous, very romantic, very committed and loyal. And so it just didn't work for that reason. And they were very disrespectful and selfish, not just to me, but to other people. So it wasn't ethical at all.
I mean, that's so tough. I totally relate to that feeling of where you're like, I just cannot go through a breakup right now. Like I've just moved cities, and we've signed a lease.
It's so unfair when one person kind of puts the other partner in a position where it's like a bit coercive and an ultimatum, because it's like if you are or have been in that relationship for years and years and years, like a lot of people would be weighing up like, well, I don't want to start again. I've like the cost sunk fallacy of just like I've put so much effort and so much of myself to build this relationship. Like you might not be into the opening of the relationship, but you almost are kind of stuck in a position where you're like, well, I don't really have a choice because otherwise I lose all of this relationship that I've built.
Yeah. And the kindest thing to do in this scenario is let them go. Like be kind and break up with them and don't put this stress on them. And don't give them like maybe a little dangly carrot to be like, well, you can keep me if you like let me have this type of lifestyle, this relationship dynamic at the detriment of you. Like if you love somebody or if you are a decent person, if you're an ethical person, you don't do that.
No, it's a relationship where you're both making compromises and you're working through those compromises and communicating and reaching a place where everyone feels safe and happy with that decision. And it's like when you're basically saying like this or the high, like, you know, my way or the highway or whatever the fucking saying is, like that's not a healthy relationship.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like someone's valuing their own like autonomy over someone else's.
Yeah. We had a really great voice memo from Courtney talking about from the other perspective of the person like coming into different couples and relationships. And yeah, she sent us this.
I never, in 2 years of being single and sleeping with men in ENM relationships, felt like there was anyone who was really, really healthy. Ultimately, I felt like most people probably should have gone to a lot more therapy before they started their ENM journey. I had some kind of sketchy situations where it was obvious that someone was avoidant and trying to use me as kind of like an emotional circuit breaker, or where there were situations where someone was really ethical in their non-monogamy when it came to themselves and their partner, but then not with me. So, you know, kind of treating the third person or the other person as disposable. I think that it's fantastic and it's something that people should do if they're interested in, but there's so many ways that it can go wrong, and I think there's so many people who are just unhealed and trying to use it as a way to heal themselves, and it does not work that way.
Yeah, like Courtney bringing up the fact that like she was getting dragged through the mud, she's getting hurt in the process is something that I think we should talk about a bit here and just say
ethical non-monogamy extends beyond your relationship. Yeah, the ethical part would extend to every person that you're bringing into your ENM dynamic. If you're like a third or if you're a fourth or whatever, how it's working in the dynamic, like they often don't get considered. And a lot of the rules I feel like with open couples are like the couple are usually like it's like the feelings and everything is our priority between us two, and like if it doesn't work out with you then like too bad so sad. Yeah, not all the time, and sometimes it can be really beautiful, but like just Courtney's experience of being like you could tell that people were using me a bit and I was kind of just like left in the dust in a few scenarios, which is so real. Yeah, and just also using the term ENM for all the wrong reasons, right?
Yeah.
And this was something that a lot of you DM'd us about, whether or not you could tell that that person was actually in an ENM relationship was really hard. So let's talk about the cheating part, because I think some people think like, oh, if you're open or you're like ethically non-monogamous, it means that there's no cheating because you can have sex or whatever, but like there's still cheating. So we asked you, have you ever been cheated on under the guise of ENM? 17% of you said yes. 49% said no, and 34% of you said not sure.
I think 34% of you being not sure about it is because a lot of people don't realize like it is absolutely possible. And like you said, it's like, no, it's not. You can sleep with anyone. That's not cheating because they all know about it. But we had this really great voice memo from Grace who really just like nailed it with this explanation.
You can still cheat in ENM relationships if you're not being honest with your partner about who you're seeing, or if you're falling outside of your boundaries and you're not telling them about it. That would be cheating. I think for a lot of us in open relationships, the cheating part is more the deceit or the lies rather than the physical act of spending time with somebody else.
Yeah, and as we've heard, like people have already done like lying about whether they were in an open relationship. Some other boundaries might be like you can't hook up with friends or family or co-workers, and then you like do it anyway. Like
or more than once. Like maybe a rule is like you've agreed that you'll just hook up with someone once and you have no connection to them and you never see them again. And then your partner's secretly been like hooking up with someone and has even formed like romantic feelings towards them but hasn't told you.
Yeah, feelings, people catching feelings and not being open about that and crossing a boundary in that way was a huge thing. And we got a voice memo from Beck talking about this.
My ENM experience is that I started dating a guy who was kind of in my friend group. We ended up getting pretty close. He had a girlfriend at the time of 10 years. They are still together. They now have a child. And we just kind of like started hooking up. It started off as a real casual thing, but then we started going on dates, like dinner dates, lunch dates, getting brunch. He would come over to my house. He knew my parents. And it got to the point of saying, I love you too, to each other. And I think his partner has no idea it got that deep. My understanding of their relationship now is that she thought this was just a hookup. And I guess that's kind of cheating if your ENM relationship with your partner is not the arrangement you're having with someone else. And I think she has no comprehension how deep it got between us.
That makes me feel sick.
Yeah.
It's one thing to it's one thing to agree to like, I don't know, whatever it was, like maybe he had a high sex drive or whatever. It's like, it's one thing to be like, yep, let's be open so we can have sex and you can get your needs met in that capacity or whatever it was. But then to like be actively dating, romantically pursuing someone else is just like so heartbreaking if that's something that's been hidden.
Yeah. And we've done so many episodes on cheating, and like oftentimes people are like the emotional cheating is way worse, which it kind of is. It's subjective. Everyone has different opinions on it. But I definitely feel that.
Do you know what I loved, which I feel like is something that I would want to do?
Yeah.
Is a DM that Jack sent us about getting verification.
I like to ask for some kind of verification from their partner that, yes, it's okay that they're seeing other people. It doesn't have to be much, just a text message for me. But I know some people that will pre-record their partner just to make sure that everything is okay, and they can just whip it out for people that are unsure. And yes, it's a deal breaker for some people that I ask for verification. But hey, that's okay. I would much prefer that and have the peace of mind of knowing that everything's above board than just have it sitting in the back of my head.
Can we talk about the pre-recorded video? I personally am like, no, I need to FaceTime them.
Yeah,
immediately. Because AI out here, deep fakes are going crazy. I got fooled by the kangaroo holding the boarding pass.
Wait.
Okay, you didn't see that one?
We'll talk about that after.
That's after. But if someone has like a deep fake and they're like, hi, I'm Pip and I'm totally okay with my partner.
It's like
open.
blink twice. Yeah. That's wild. It's genuinely like getting a signed permission slip from your therapist being like, I'm allowed to have sex with you. But I generally I don't really trust men in general. So I would need that permission slip.
Yeah.
I would be like, sorry, get the partner on FaceTime ASAP because I don't believe you.
It's kind of interesting because like when you're on dating apps and you see people with like primary partner. I'm really happy, blah, 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 but I'm open. Part of you is like, I really hope that their partner knows that they're here. I really don't know like whether or not to like probe about it or whatever. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I really like that Jack does the verification. And like he said, he was like, can be a deal breaker for some people.
Which I'm like, wild. If you've got nothing to hide, why is it a deal breaker?
Literally like, oh, you can't talk to my primary. Like, then I'm not going to do this because it could be cheating.
100%.
Yeah. Anyway, so the thing that we've kind of discovered from all of your DMs and all of your voice memos about ENM is that it really does require a lot of work, as you've probably noticed. Like, there's a lot that can go wrong. It can be tricky to negotiate and manage people's feelings and expectations. So we did a poll. If you've tried ENM, would you do it again? 35% of you said yes. 65% said no.
I'm surprised by that because people who are, maybe it's just the loudest, but people who are like poly ENM through and through, like scream it through the roof, you know? They're like, it's changed my life for the better. Like, this is how humans are supposed to be. Like, I've just reached a depth in myself that I never would have, et cetera, et cetera.
But maybe if we were to ask them 30 years later, maybe their answer would be different. Because like our sample size of like our audience.
Yeah, there's like so many people, ages.
And there's like, there's a lot of ages, but like mainly young people, I guess. And so it's like right
65% of people saying, no, I wouldn't do it again. Like that's a lot of people, you know?
Yeah. But then again, you're right. The loudest are saying, you know, in a lot of the voice memos.
But I think it's just because they're the people that are doing it right. I think there's a small percentage of people. I think when it comes to ENM, this is my little hot take. I think there is a small amount of people who are actually doing it really well. And I think it's rare. And I think like what we've heard, a lot of people are trying it and not doing it well or doing it for all the wrong reasons. And there's coercion, there's ultimatums, there's like people not doing ethically. And we don't even have the tools to be in a monogamous relationship, right? Like none of us are taught how to even just like be in healthy relationships. It's something that's like taken a long time for even me to learn. And like, let alone how to do that with multiple people and multiple dynamics, especially when you've got the added stigma and the pressure from society of being like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, like Ben said at the very top of the episode about having a deepened connection and like how he was like, it made me what's the word? Reassess and reassess my relationship with my primary partner, and it strengthened that. I think you're right. I think he's in like a small percentile of people who are open and people who know how to have, people who have high
emotional intelligence.
EQ. Yeah.
They have the emotional intelligence. They have the communication skills.
Yeah.
They have the ability to not let their egos get so wrapped up in things. They go to therapy, they work through things, they're great communicators, they're trustworthy, they're honest. And I don't think that's a lot of people.
Loki, the expert.
Well, they don't have the skills to be able to do that.
Can I say Loki, the expert that we're getting on for this, is kind of like the master of this.
No, I'm like, if you are listening and you are curious and this is something that you do want to try, you're going to need to listen to the next episode because we all need help. We need to be able to do this in a healthy way.
Can we name drop already? Can we tease and be like, it's Chris Cheers?
Oh yeah, it's Chris Cheers, obviously.
Like he's literally a bestie of the show, psychologist. And if you've seen him on ABC Compass, he has an episode as what they describe as NARM's most successful polycule. Live for that, by the way. I loved it and I need to tell Chris that.
I know.
So
Chris has a husband and a partner. So we're going to unpack that with him and how that kind of works and how they navigate that relationship, the polycule, if you will.
Well, that was really fun.
Yes.
This was really cool. And thank you to everybody who messaged us, who sent us a voice memo and got personal with us about their open relationships. Of course, if you want to follow us at Triple J The Hookup, if you want to DM us any dating dilemmas, sex questions, go ahead.
Yeah, if anything in this episode brought up stuff for you and you want to share it, you've got another point to add, we always welcome it. We could do a part 2.
That's right.
Okay.
Illy.
Bye.
See you in the DMs.